It was supposed to be the highlight of the night. The five friends stepped into cabin 17 of the London Eye, laughing, their faces glowing in the neon mist of the city skyline. They toasted with cheap champagne smuggled in a backpack, unaware that every second was being counted down. As the door slid shut behind them, none noticed the faint red light blinking above the frame, recording something it shouldn't. By minute 4, the laughter had faded to silence. Liam sat in the corner, separated from the group by more than just his silence. He stared through the glass, clutching an old film camera that didn't belong in 2025. When asked what he was filming, he gave the same vague answer. For someone who's not here yet. They laughed it off, but someone or something was already watching. The ride was timed, 30 minutes from ground to sky and back again. The Eye's operators followed protocol. Cabin 17's journey started at exactly 10:03 p.m. The camera feed showed 5 figures inside, moving, gesturing, alive. But as the rotation approached its peak, static bled into the image for 3 seconds. When it cleared, one of the figures seemed different, taller, still. No one noticed until it was too late. The descent began with an alarm. A low tone in the control room, usually ignored, began to repeat with urgency. An operator leaned closer to the screen and frowned. "Why aren't they moving?" he muttered. Cabin 17 was descending, but the 5 friends stood frozen like statues. And then, frame by frame, they began to vanish, one by one. At ground level, panic replaced protocol. As the cabin touched down, 2 attendants rushed to the door. What they found triggered a lockdown. The interior was empty, no bodies, no signs of forced entry, only 5 phones placed neatly on the floor and a smear of condensation across the inner glass. The footage was immediately confiscated. News of the disappearance didn't make the morning papers. The Eye continued turning, tourists oblivious. But inside a restricted MI5 server, a file had been created. Cabin 17, unresolved. No public statements, no names released. Families were told the friends had fled the country, but one of them hadn't. Liam's legal guardian received no call, no report, because he had never officially existed. At 3:17 a.m., the footage reappeared on the dark web, a still frame. The 5 friends mid-ride smiling. In the corner, a shadow, a 6th shape. No face, no entry logs, no exit detected. The image spread like wildfire among fringe forums, sparking a new theory. Cabin 17 had an extra passenger, but the most chilling detail came from a radio operator who worked that night. He remembered a sound in his headset, barely a whisper, at the exact moment the cabin passed the summit. He replayed it dozens of times, slowed it down, cleaned the audio. 4 words, barely audible beneath the interference. He was never ours. The security footage didn't lie. It just refused to tell the full truth. At precisely 10:03 p.m., 5 figures boarded cabin 17. Each was accounted for, each clearly visible. But when the cabin returned at 10:33, not a single person stepped out. Authorities reviewed the feed dozens of times. The footage never glitched, yet something felt surgically removed, as if the space between frames was hiding an answer no one wanted to find. The police sealed off the booth within minutes. Standard procedure was ignored. Forensics moved in, analyzing every inch. No fingerprints beyond the groups, no tampering to the locking mechanism. But then came the phones. 5 of them, placed equidistantly in a perfect circle on the cabin floor, all powered off. One technician noticed something else. Each phone had a countdown timer set for the exact same moment. 3:17 a.m. Public relations took over faster than detectives. By dawn, the official narrative was in place. 5 young adults, suspected of staging a dramatic disappearance, possibly linked to a fringe movement. News channels ran pre-written headlines. Interviews were cancelled. But in a flat in Camden, a retired MI5 cryptographer watched the looped footage and muttered, "They scrubbed it too clean." The scrub wasn't perfect. A visual anomaly was discovered by a private security analyst who leaked the frame to a closed online community. At the 22-minute mark of the ride, a barely perceptible figure appeared reflected in the glass opposite Liam. It wasn't any of the five, too tall, featureless, head slightly tilted as if watching him. Liam's identity began to unravel. His social media pages vanished within hours of the incident. School records were minimal, no birth certificate on file. His legal guardian, listed as a distant cousin, refused interviews. And yet, someone kept accessing Liam's encrypted cloud drive remotely. Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., the same time marked on the phones. The eye didn't stop turning. Tourists came and went. Cabin 17 was quietly removed from the rotation under the guise of routine maintenance. But one attendant, curious, sneaked a peek inside before it was sealed. What he saw wasn't reported officially. Symbols etched into the fogged glass, forming a circle around a single word: null. An ex-police analyst began her own investigation. Her daughter was one of the five who disappeared. She received an envelope with no return address, containing a USB drive with raw footage from the night. On it, a file labeled only witness. She clicked. It showed the interior of the cabin, but from a low, tilted angle. Someone or something had recorded from inside. The final frame from the video revealed the impossible. As the cabin descended, the five friends were no longer visible. But on the seat, precisely where Liam had sat, the film camera rested, lens facing forward. The reflection in the lens didn't show the cabin. It showed a different sky. The rumor began on an encrypted forum. There were 6 people in the cabin. A user named Irretinal Ghost posted an enhanced still from the leaked footage. Between frames 1445 and 1450, a silhouette emerged behind Liam, subtly taller than the others, arms too long for proportion. The user claimed it had taken them 9 hours of frame-by-frame analysis to isolate it. Then, their account was deleted. The theory spread like contagion. People began re-watching the footage, obsessing over shadows, angles, reflections. Online sleuths argued over whether the 6th figure was a digital artifact or deliberate manipulation. But one user traced the silhouette's shape across different time codes and found that it never blinked. Not once, across 27 visible minutes. A facial reconstruction specialist volunteered to analyze the blur. After inputting the cabin's lighting specs and spatial orientation, she isolated a partial profile of the 6th figure. The result was chilling. The eyes were too wide apart. The jaw was smooth but lacked symmetry. "That's not a human face," she said in an interview that never aired. Her studio was vandalized the next day. Liam's name resurfaced through an anonymous leak. An unsigned email reached several journalists with a single phrase: "Ask about the boy with the camera." Attached was a passport scan, heavily redacted, but the metadata indicated it had been created in 2009 by the Home Office. Liam would have been 5. The field for birth parents read only classified L6. The former MI5 cryptographer, now following the case, recognized that code. L6 referred to a restricted list of individuals born or raised under national security programs, ghost identities, fabricated histories. Some were experimental. If Liam's file says L6, he warned, he wasn't adopted. He was assigned. The analyst mother tracked down Liam's guardian. The man lived off-grid in Dorset, in a cabin near the sea. He claimed to be Liam's uncle but couldn't name his parents. When pressed, he confessed something strange. He had dreams, always the same, of looking down on cities, from above, like watching them through glass. Inside Liam's room, she found a hidden notebook. The pages were filled with drawings, cabins, circles, and a recurring image. A dark figure standing behind glass, always with Liam in front. One line repeated over a dozen pages in shaky handwriting. "It always rides with me." That night, the analyst received a video call from a blocked number. The screen showed Cabin 17's interior, seemingly live. But the angle was wrong. It was shot from above, from inside the ceiling panel. In the bottom corner, someone stood alone. Liam. But he looked directly at the camera and whispered, "Tell them I was never meant to leave." The technician monitoring the London Eye that night hadn't returned home. James Wren, 32, last seen exiting the operator's booth at 11:48 p.m., left behind his badge, phone and keys. His shift log ended abruptly mid-sentence. Cabin 17, not empty. The police labeled it personal disappearance, but co-workers whispered something else. James had been acting strange ever since that ride. His apartment was clean, too clean. No photos, no clothing, no mail. Even his online presence had been wiped, not just deactivated. Digital forensic teams found only one trace, a single draft email that had never been sent. Its subject line was blank, and the body contained only 3 words. "Look under 17." Cabin 17 had been removed from public rotation, but not dismantled. It sat in a hangar on the outskirts of London, under government contract. When an anonymous whistleblower released a photo from inside, a new mystery emerged. A trapdoor beneath the central seating area, something never documented in any official blueprint. Its surface was covered in scorched markings, as if it had been burned from the inside. Liam's name reappeared on a surveillance crossmatch. Facial recognition software flagged someone matching his appearance entering the British Library at 3:17 a.m., 2 nights after the incident. The footage showed him walking calmly into the rare manuscript's wing, then cutting to black. No exit footage, no security trigger, no record of his library card. But a single book was reported missing, the Codex of Unseen Passages, a medieval volume believed lost in Waliou. The analyst received an unexpected call from someone within Parliament. A voice, calm and clipped, warned her to stop. "There are layers of this story that predate your daughter," he said. "Ask yourself, why would a national landmark be operated under military surveillance for over a decade?" Then he hung up. She traced the number. It didn't exist. Back at the Eye, one of the senior engineers broke protocol. Curious about the trapdoor, he opened it alone at night. The footage from his helmet cam, leaked by his daughter, showed what he found. A vertical shaft, descending far deeper than the Eye's structure should allow. The final 10 seconds of the video are silent, then the camera falls, spinning. His body was never recovered. The shaft wasn't just deep, it was old. Carbon dating of the debris found at the bottom, quietly released by a university student, suggested the rock lining had been chiseled centuries ago. Some speculated the Eye had been constructed atop something ancient, something buried. But if so, why build a tourist attraction above it? The final whisper came through the technician's missing earpiece. His wife found it in their mailbox, wrapped in tin foil. When played back, the last thing James Wren heard was a distorted, layered voice repeating, "Open the glass, let him see." The river had always carried secrets. Long before the London Eye ever turned, the Thames was a place of offerings, drownings, and disappearances. But now, after the cabin incident, strange objects began surfacing near its banks. Wooden effigies shaped like capsules, scorched fragments of glass, and, most disturbingly, a single film reel with Liam's name scratched onto its metal casing. The reel contained no moving images, only sound. A slow, rhythmic hum, punctuated by occasional phrases in archaic English. Experts cross-referenced the cadence with medieval chants used by secret brotherhoods. One linguist noted, "It's a call and response ritual, but the response is missing." The hum ended at minute 3:17 with a final whispered phrase, Bring him back up. The analyst connected the symbols on the reel to a local legend. An old myth, the Watcher in the Wheel, spoke of a being kept beneath the city, locked inside a chamber of spinning light until a destined child arrived. The myth had been dismissed for generations, but certain landmarks aligned too perfectly with its descriptions, including the precise location of the London Eye. She wasn't the only one chasing the legend. A fringe group known as the Observants, active since the late 90s, had long believed the eye was a tool for spiritual resonance. They claimed it was built not to observe the city, but to focus something downward. Their writing spoke of a ritual that could only be completed with 5 vessels and 1 key. The Observants identified Liam as that key. A redacted blog post, deleted within minutes, claimed he had been chosen at birth, his dreams guided by the Watcher itself. A sketch allegedly made by Liam as a child showed 5 human silhouettes descending into a glowing wheel, while a 6th figure remained above, faceless and alone. More evidence emerged near the river. Divers found an underwater tunnel sealed with iron bars and strange markings. The tunnel pointed directly beneath the eye's foundation. Inside, they found clothing fragments matching those of the missing friends, and one more thing. A 6th set of footprints leading away, bare, larger than human and still wet. The analyst tried to go public. She appeared on a late-night podcast and shared what she'd found. Halfway through, the host received a live feed interruption, a shaky, flickering clip of Cabin 17 ascending alone. Her mic cut out. She froze. The broadcast ended abruptly and was replaced by a weather alert. The episode was scrubbed within 24 hours. But someone had seen it. A man in Oxford sent the analyst a package containing a page torn from the Codex of Unseen Passages. On it, an illustration, a wheel above a river, 5 souls chained to its frame, and a 6th reaching toward the sky. In the margin, one phrase in Latin, Quem rota elegit, non pode fugir. He whom the wheel chooses cannot flee. The analyst broke into her late husband's archives at dawn. He had been a civil servant, quiet, meticulous, until his sudden heart attack 6 years prior. But in the attic, buried beneath tax records and retirement plans, she found a locked case labeled only DZ. Inside were photos, cassette tapes, and a government document marked Eyes Only, Ministry of Urban Interfaces. The tapes were disturbing. Each cassette held audio logs from anonymous operators describing active vortex signatures in major tourist attractions. Phrases repeated across locations: light distortion, passenger echo, non-return incidents. One tape mentioned the London Eye specifically. Cabin 17 behaves differently. The axis alignment is not physical, it's temporal. The photos told another story. 6 different landmarks. 6 groups of people vanished under mysterious circumstances. All followed the same pattern. 5 visible participants, 1 obscured. In each, someone held an object resembling Liam's vintage camera, Paris, Tokyo, Dubai, Rio, New York, and now London. It wasn't a coincidence, it was a cycle. One file was labeled The Cycle Candidate. Inside, a surveillance image from 2017 showed a young Liam at age 13, standing alone in front of the Shard. He wasn't on any school registry, yet he wore a uniform. Behind him in the image, a blurred figure, tall, still, almost identical to the 6th shadow seen in Cabin 17. Someone or something had been following him for years. The final page in the dossier was not written in English. It was a code, fragmented Latin mixed with mathematical formulas. At the center of the page, drawn in red ink, a wheel of 6 spokes, each numbered. Spoke 6 pointed to a blank circle with one word beneath, nullum. The meaning was debated, but one phrase stood out in the analyst's notes. Spoke 6. Isolated constant. She contacted the cryptographer again. He confirmed the page was consistent with a once classified project. Project Nullum. The premise was unthinkable. A theory that certain humans could act as anchors, binding physical space to energy loops embedded beneath ancient structures. The eye, he said, was just the most modern implementation. Liam's role became clearer and more terrifying. He wasn't just a victim, he was a variable, a constant designed to trigger the cycle's reactivation. His presence in Cabin 17 wasn't an accident, it was fulfillment. And the others? Vessels, not random, chosen for symmetry, for balance, for offering. At exactly 3:17 a.m. that night, the analyst received a file drop. No sender, no IP, just a single audio file. It contained Liam's voice, breathing heavily. He whispered, "They built it above the wound. I was born to keep it closed." Then silence. Then one last sound, the soft click of a camera shutter. 3 days after the incident, Cabin 17 reappeared on the wheel. It wasn't scheduled. It wasn't reattached. Security footage showed the numbered capsule ascending slowly at dawn, turning like nothing had happened. No operator touched the controls, no alarms were triggered. By the time staff noticed, the ride was halfway through its cycle, and something moved inside. Authorities intervened, but not fast enough. The ride was halted manually before completion. Cabin 17 remained suspended mid-air for 40 minutes, unresponsive to commands. When it finally descended, the door wouldn't open. Emergency crews arrived, broke the seal, and were met with the stench of blood and metal. Inside, smeared handprints coated the walls in spirals. Forensics couldn't identify the blood. The samples returned impossible results. Traces of human DNA from at least 5 individuals, none of whom matched existing databases. But the real discovery was on the seat. A torn jacket sleeve identified as belonging to one of the missing friends, stitched with the name Toby. The tear wasn't clean. It looked melted. In the corner of the cabin they found something else. A device resembling a body cam, melted partially but recoverable. The footage it contained was short. Just 2 minutes of flickering darkness, heavy breathing, and distant wet clicking sounds. Then, a voice, unmistakably Liam's, whispering, "It doesn't want to stay down anymore." The clip ended with a deafening bang. News of the cabin's return was buried. The official statement cited unauthorized activation due to a software glitch. But within intelligence circles, panic was growing. A top-level memorandum was leaked with a new codename for the event, Project Recursor. It contained a single directive: if the wheel turns again, initiate Red Veil Protocol. The analyst tracked the Red Veil reference to an abandoned military archive. Deep in the Wiltshire countryside, she accessed a bunker sealed since the 1980s. Inside were reels of 16mm film, documenting tests on spatial fractures beneath key monuments: Stonehenge, the Colosseum, the Great Pyramid. But only one site was labeled active: the eye. The film ended with a warning: contain the axis. Do not rotate beyond alignment. She returned to London to confront the eye's director. He was waiting, calm, pale. "You're too late," he said. "It's already aligned." When she demanded to know who gave the order to reactivate Cabin 17, he answered simply, "No one. It turned itself." Then he handed her a box containing Liam's camera, now shattered, lens burned from the inside. That night, a missing girl from the group was found. She was wandering along the riverbank near Tower Bridge, barefoot, soaked, and unable to speak. Hospital staff noted 2 things. She had no recollection of her name, and on her wrist, a tattoo had appeared, one she didn't have before, a perfect circle with 6 spokes. In her pocket was a photo, slightly burned. It showed the 5 friends in Cabin 17. But Liam wasn't in the frame. The girl remained in a catatonic state for 72 hours. Doctors said her brain activity fluctuated in irregular waves, as if following an unseen pulse. On the 3rd night, she screamed once, loud enough to crack the hospital room's mirror. The only word she said before falling silent again. Null. The photo from her pocket revealed a final layer of deception. Experts examined the image's metadata and discovered it hadn't been taken that night, but weeks before. The 5 friends weren't just victims, they had been rehearsing something, staging the moment. Except for Liam, who now seemed entirely absent, not erased, omitted, like he was never part of the world the photo belonged to. The analyst returned to the eye at midnight. It had been closed for maintenance, but the lights flickered to life as she approached. Cabin 17 was missing, but a new one, Cabin 08, had been installed in its place. No announcement, no paperwork. As she stared up, a vibration beneath her feet began to hum. Faint at first, then undeniable. The wheel was turning again. Back in Dorset, Liam's old guardian disappeared. His house was found abandoned with claw marks on the inside of the walls, long, straight, precise. A note was found on his desk, scrawled in a child's handwriting, "He's not in the sky anymore." Police closed the case as a runaway, but the locals knew better. They spoke of strange lights flickering over the hills at 3:17. The footage from the cabin's return was quietly released online. Only the most obsessive saw it. It lasted less than a minute, a dark cabin rotating alone as a figure appeared inside. Not Liam, but someone wearing his jacket. The body moved stiffly, head tilted. The camera glitched every time it came into focus. The final frame, a close-up of the figure's hand pressing against the glass. It had 6 fingers. The observants declared the cycle reactivated. In hidden forums, they claimed the selection would restart. New groups, new alignments, new anchors. They named landmarks to watch next. Tokyo Skytree, the CN Tower, the Atomium. They ended with a warning. He's looking through the glass. He remembers now. The analyst vanished a week later. Her apartment was found empty, except for a single page taped to the window. A drawing in red ink, the eye spinning above a black void. Inside the void, a stick figure with the word Liam written beneath it. The drawing moved slightly in the breeze as if breathing. No prints, no witnesses. At 3:17 a.m., Cabin 08 completed its first full rotation. Security feeds shut down for exactly 44 seconds. When they returned, the cabin was empty, except for one object. Liam's film camera, intact. The lens pointed outward, and for the first time, it recorded sound without tape. Just a whisper, repeating endlessly. "I saw you looking back.